Am I the asshole for being honest with my niece when she asked for my advice? I am gay and have been out of the closet for more than 15 years. My niece is a lesbian and she came out a few years ago. She is 20 years old. We are close and we talk a few times every month. Last month, she had called me and asked me for advice. She asked what my experience dating people still in the closet had been. I didn't think much of it. She has asked me about my experiences before. She wants to write a book about LGBTQ+, and I thought it was mostly as material for the book. I was honest with her. It is hard to date someone in the closet. It is almost as if you have to shove some part of yourself back into the closet to not out your partner. I told her that I had seen many people who started their relationship while a partner was out and the other was still in the closet, but they were able to support each other and come out and get married and be happy together. I also talked about my experience dating a man who was in the closet, and he was an incredible partner, but he was not willing to come out at all. The best outcome I could hope for was to be roommate. After some time, I started to feel more like a guilty secret than his boyfriend. I couldn't force him to come out, so I broke up with him. He had to choose between family and me, and he chose his family. Nothing wrong with that. I emphasized that it was about trust. If you trusted your partner to come out in time, it was worth it. But if you had doubts about if they could ever build a life together, then it is better to break up with them. My sister called me and shouted at me for projecting my experience onto her daughter. She seems to have broken up with her girlfriend, who is still in the closet. I didn't even know she had a girlfriend. She accused me of poisoning her mind. I feel a bit guilty, as my opinion is jaded by my experiences. Had I known she was asking about her own relationship, I would have been a bit more cautious with my words. Am I the asshole?
Wow. That is, wow. That is very real. And I think that this person's awareness makes me vote that they are not the asshole.
I would agree. Mm-hmm. And that is the overall vote of the thread as well, not the asshole.
Generations are different. Mm-hmm. And like, even within like the queer, gay, whatever space, it's like the progress made within the last 5 years is very different than the progress made in the last 15 years, you know, or the last like year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's so much more awareness around like pronouns to the point that like, that's like, that feels like in the last year where people who never even knew that there were other pronouns are like talking about it, you know? Wow. I've dated people who have at points been in the closet. Mm-hmm. I mean, at one point I was in the closet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At one point everyone out of the closet was in the closet. You know? So it's really an interesting thing because you can't rush someone's coming out. And there used to be like, you know, and still is a stigma around when you're like in Hollywood or when you're like, you know, when you're seen as an entertainer, like what that actually means, even though there's like, you know, even though there's like so much awareness and acceptance right now, there's also like, you know, there are countries where it's just like not okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Still.
Yeah.
And that actually was like a thing that happened in like the Olympics. That was like maybe several years ago where people were outing like athletes because they found them on Grindr. And that was awful because some of those athletes were like at the Olympics and safe and could be out, but in their country where they're from,
it's illegal.
It's a death sentence.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's something that's really interesting too, like you saying that, because we do have global listeners. And so this could be streaming or, you know, whatever in countries that it is illegal to be gay or a death sentence.
So it's actually good if that is you, where it's like, just got chills, because it's like important to know that you can be in the closet and still have very valid love. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you're both in the closet, it can be very valid. If you're one is in the closet and one is not, it can also be very valid. I do think that the person that posted said something that is true. That's like, you trust that they will come out.
Yeah.
If that is a possibility, you know, yeah. And maybe that's just like not something that you need to rush, you know. And I hope that the person, the niece that he was talking to, I hope that she knows that her love is still valid. And
yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because you look at, you know, this individual's 20, so maybe she's dating someone in a similar age. But the last story we read was the individual's 28. Like, there isn't really a timeline for coming out.
No.
And it is when you're, the most comfortable and feel that you can. So it's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting too to think about. I just feel like sometimes more knowledge is power in the fact that he did share so much, even though he said, well, if he kind of knew about the relationship, he might have chosen his words. I don't know. It's just hard to know when you should tell the full truth and just be like, this is exactly what I've experienced. Take it with a grain of salt. But it almost feels like if you hold back, it just feels like it's going to limit.
You're not being as true either.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they gave very advice that was on both sides. Like they told the story about how I have friends that have dated partners in the closet and they eventually came out and they got married, happy relationships. However, for me, that wasn't my experience. And I think, with the last story too, and this one, if you're okay with your partner being in the closet and that's a dynamic that doesn't affect your relationship, then so be it. Like the last, couple, they got married and he was still technically not out to his family. I think this girl, I don't think she would have broken up with her girlfriend if she wasn't already questioning things and unhappy with the dynamic.
Right. That it was just the mother that really just went into mama mode and was like,
well, and she's old enough to come to that decision
she's
too.
20.
It's not like a kid where you go give advice and they go do something dumb just because they don't know any better.
Yeah. No, she's
more like she is coming into her own. She definitely has the ability to kind of make these choices about her life.
I'm glad
and so more knowledge actually probably helped her make a better decision.
100%.
I'm glad you globalized it though, because if a listener is in the closet, if they're both in the closet or one is and one is not, I think it's really important to just say again that your love is valid.
100%. And at the end of the day,
there's no timeline for it.
There's not. Right. And you have to be happy. You have to be healthy and safe. And so whatever that looks like for you and whatever you need to do it.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to conform to anyone else's idea of what's normal or societal pressures. Be you and be safe and all that jazz.
Side note, we never talked about the little add-on from the last story about the mother who had dated a man who said that he
so
liked her because of the manly features or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, that sounds crazy and sounds like that mother needs to
process
talk
that?
about that more openly with maybe that will help her and her son become closer together. I don't know. Whatever that was as an aside was actually just such a huge moment. And then I realized we just there was a lot in that last story.
There was a lot.
And so that one is just ricocheting in my brain right now.
Yeah, that was really weird. Super unnecessary, but also the fact that he knew it was a story or a thing.
I wonder what she is still holding on about it, because it sounds like she married somebody and had kids and has moved on apparently, but that is a centered story in someone's narrative, that sounds like drama.
Yes.
For real. Yeah, such a weird little
bring
note.
that back.
Yeah.
Bringing it full circle.